A list of 5 imminent cuts is about to change the face of the Commanders and confirms that our front office will not hesitate to make drastic decisions before the start of the season. The sudden departure of a trusted player was just the first step in a rigorous assessment that put experienced athletes directly at risk of being cut. As these names try to secure their spots, a physical issue on our defense raised immediate concern for the first game of the year against a historic rival from our division. The forced absence of this defender created the perfect scenario for a market turnaround. The chance to realize the arrival of a top-level defensive star who can join his brother in our roster to transform the team's ambitions. Stay with me, because I will deliver to you, who are the 5 threatened athletes, the real situation of our injured defender, and all the behind the scenes of this possible reinforcement. Leave your like on the video. It's just a click, and it helps me a lot. The departure of Jake Moody confirmed that the competition for the kicker ended much earlier than expected. Dan Quinn had indicated that the evaluation could extend until the preseason, but it only took 1 game for Drew Stevens to gain the necessary trust. The undrafted rookie seized the opportunity while Moody was unable to turn his experience into security. In the NFL, a few mistakes can change a career in a matter of days. For Adam Peters, the decision represents more than just a player exchange. The general manager was involved in selecting Moody back when he worked with the San Francisco 49ers, and even offered a new opportunity to the athlete in Washington. Even with this professional connection, Peters did not allow the past to influence the current assessment. When problems arose, the front office acted quickly. This is the message for the entire roster. The Commanders need to trim the roster from 90 to 53 players in just a few weeks. Some athletes may move to the practice squad, but others will simply lose their opportunity. This is the hardest part of preparation, especially for those who have spent months working to earn a spot. However, Peters and Quinn are not choosing nice stories. They are looking for players capable of withstanding pressure when the games matter much more. The first threatened name is Julian Good-Jones. When Nick Allegretti suffered a calf strain on the first day of training camp, the organization preferred Good-Jones' experience, instead of immediately handing the position to rookie Matt Golban. The decision made sense at the time. However, the experience did not translate into convincing performance, and the offensive line began to lose coordination just when it needed to protect Jayden Daniels. Good-Jones struggled to communicate and keep up with defensive movements. The blocks seemed delayed, and the pass protection did not instill confidence. In the debut against Miami, the performance did not yield a positive response. It is true that the opponent was strong, and that numbers do not tell everything, but for a player who received an early opportunity, there was a lack of reaction capable of changing the assessment. Golban, on the other hand, appeared more prepared than many expected. The rookie quickly reached the second level and showed good capability in pass protection. There is still a difference between facing backups and going up against starters, but the performance was enough to put Matt in the conversation for an immediate backup spot. When Allegretti returns, Good-Jones will have to quickly prove that he is not the weakest link in this competition. The return of Allegretti also reduces the available space. The veteran may not have a guaranteed position, but he has experience and familiarity with the communication required by the offense. Golban offers youth and room for growth. Good-Jones had the advantage of repetitions, but needs to turn that experience into efficiency. Otherwise, the dismissal may happen even before the final cuts, especially if the coaching staff feels that other positions need the space. Another name at risk is DJ Johnson. The defense under Durante Jones was one of the pleasant surprises of training camp, especially during joint practices with the Miami Dolphins. The unit demonstrated speed, aggressiveness, and the ability to pressure the quarterback. The problem is that Washington has accumulated many players capable of playing on the edges, and there is not enough space to keep them all. A good defense also produces painful decisions. Johnson arrived at the end of last season, after the Carolina Panthers gave up their third-round pick made in 2023. The connection with Scott Fitterer, former general manager of the Panthers and current member of Washington's front office, helped explain the second opportunity. The pass rusher secured a reserve future contract, but has yet to find a consistent way to separate himself from the competition. Competing in such a strong group is not simple, but the difficulty has been with Johnson for some time. The athlete was selected sooner than many evaluators deemed appropriate and has ended up carrying expectations that he did not create. In Carolina, he was unable to confirm his potential. Now, in Washington, the story seems to be heading toward a similar conclusion. If there is no clear response by the end of the preseason, the front office may end the attempt. Sam Hartman is also facing a delicate situation. The quarterback received another reserve future contract after spending last season on the practice squad. This is his third preseason with the Commanders, but the expected growth has not yet appeared. The team needed to see enough evolution to justify his stay, and the gap to Athan Kaliakmanis has begun to become evident. Hartman was competing for the third quarterback position behind Jayden Daniels and Marcus Mariota. The rookie Kaliakmanis would need time to adjust, but Mariotta's injury completely changed the situation. Now, the young player is expected to receive the majority of the repetitions, and Sam will have few opportunities to regain ground. The friendship with Daniels may be positive in the environment, but it should not guarantee a spot. Against Miami, Hartman showed some good passes, but again exhibited issues with accuracy and decision-making. His footwork was also below what was necessary, and progressions took too long to develop before pressure arrived. This is especially concerning in David Blau's system, which requires quick reads and organized execution. A delay can turn a simple play into a significant loss. Mariotta's injury leaves Hartman available for some warm-ups and limited opportunities, but Kaliakmanis seems to be the natural priority. The rookie completed 6 of 10 passes for 87 yards and put the ball in good positions for the receivers. Hartman needs to show something much better to prevent this shift. At this moment, the team appears more interested in discovering the potential of the player selected in the 7th round. Qwuantrezz Knight is another athlete surrounded by doubts. The safety position has many candidates, even without major reinforcements in free agency or the draft. Nick Cross emerges as the main name after arriving as a free agent. Jeremy Reeves is expected to play an important role. Quan Martin is still seen with hope, and Will Harris may use his experience to survive the cuts. Tyler Owens and Percy Butler are also in the evaluation. With so many options, Knight is at a disadvantage. The undrafted player has a prior connection with Peters, dating back to their time in San Francisco, but has not participated in an official game since 2023, when he was with the Arizona Cardinals. Motivation does not seem to be lacking, but the lack of space and competitive rhythm could weigh against the safety. Durante Jones's defense has improved the perception of several athletes, but this also raises the level of the competition. When the unit begins to create pressure and move the pieces more efficiently, players need to demonstrate specific value. Knight will have to show coverage, reading, and involvement in special teams. If he cannot, the relationship with Peters may not be enough to keep him on the roster. Jeffrey M'ba completes this list of threatened names. The undrafted defensive lineman received $245,000 guaranteed, a clear sign that Washington expected interest from other organizations. The investment created expectations, but M'ba has yet to find his place in the hierarchy. During the preseason, the athlete appeared more as a project than a presence ready to contribute. The situation became even more complicated with Charles Omenihu and Dadrick Wise Jr. occupying important positions in the 3-4 defensive line when healthy. Ricky Barber and veteran Shai Tuttle also had stronger moments in their debut. For M'ba, this means that the initial performance was not only discreet, it also allowed direct competitors to gain space as the cut day approached. At 26 years old, M'ba needs to show immediate improvement. A return to the practice squad is still possible, especially if the coaching staff identifies tools for development. But there is no guarantee that the organization wants to wait. Peters has already shown that he does not hesitate to cut players when he feels the performance does not match the investment. The new regime wants answers, and the timeline for M'ba is shrinking. As these names fight for survival, an injury may force Washington to seek help outside the roster. Trey Amos recently returned from a fibula fracture but suffered an ankle injury in his second practice. Dan Quinn did not convey optimism and stated that the situation will become clearer in the next 1 or 2 weeks. This timeline casts doubt on the cornerback's participation in Week 1 against Philadelphia. Amos has already faced physical issues in a short career, and the new injury increases the front office's concern. Even if he receives clearance to return to activities within the expected time frame, there is no certainty he'll be able to start the season as a starter. The defense needs repetitions, communication, and rhythm. Missing this period could leave the position vulnerable right against a division opponent. It is in this scenario that Trevon Diggs' name regains strength. The cornerback is unsigned and has been linked to the Commanders during the offseason. Dan Quinn knows the player well from his time with the Cowboys and helped develop Diggs to all-pro status. There is trust between the two, and this connection could facilitate a conversation if Amos's situation remains unresolved. The reunion would have another familiar element. Washington recently signed Stefon Diggs, Trevon's brother. After the trade was confirmed, Trevon reportedly messaged Quinn to talk about what Stefon could bring to the franchise. This relationship creates an interesting combination. A coach who already knows the cornerback, a brother on offense, and an urgent need on defense. Even so, the decision would not be simple. Diggs comes from a difficult phase. Injuries and below-average performance have contributed to the drop in production since Quinn's departure from Dallas. The player tried out for the Detroit Lions but did not reach an agreement. Washington also had previous opportunities to sign him after his release by the Green Bay Packers, but opted to invest in Rasul Douglas, Fabian Moreau, and the renewal of Antonio Hamilton Sr. This shows that the management has not considered signing him a priority until now. However, an injury to Amos could quickly change the calculation. The NFL does not provide much time to wait for perfect answers. If the young cornerback cannot get ready, Peters will have to decide between relying on current options or adding a veteran who knows the coach but comes with physical and technical doubts. Diggs would also need to adapt. The defense would not be the same as the one he encountered in Dallas because Daronte Jones uses different concepts and responsibilities. Familiarity with Quinn helps, but it does not eliminate the need to learn the system. Moreover, the veteran would have to regain rhythm after a period without a contract. It would not be an automatic solution, just an alternative with potential and clear risks. Therefore, everything depends on Amos's return. If the player shows rapid improvement and can train without limitations, the Diggs matter may lose strength. Otherwise, the pressure on Peters will increase day by day. The team cannot start the season without depth at such an important position, especially when Jones's defense begins to gain confidence and needs available pieces. Deep down, Moody's release was just the first warning. Peters is evaluating every player coldly, and Good Jones, Johnson, Hartman, Knight, and M'Ba know that a final opportunity could define their destinies. At the same time, Amos needs to beat the recovery clock while Diggs waits for a chance that seemed unlikely a few weeks ago. This is the moment when the Commanders stop protecting expectations and start protecting performance. Stevens needs to deliver under pressure, the offensive line needs to find a way to keep Daniels safe, and the defense needs to decide whether to trust the current roster or seek external experience. The question is no longer just who deserves a spot, but who can deliver security when the season starts. For the fan, each cut hurts because there is a story behind each player, but the franchise cannot carry sentimentality into a decisive game. If Amos does not return in time and Diggs is willing to accept a new opportunity, the connection with Quinn and Stefan may be enough to change the plans. Now it remains to be seen whether the management prefers to trust the known risk or bet on one last recovery attempt. Could Trevon Diggs still be the answer for Washington's defense?